Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be going back live again. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I think the last one was we did Pluto entering Aquarius. Oh, no, sorry, we did the eclipse season live. So that was already over a month and a half ago. But today we're chatting about Jupiter entering Gemini, which is actually happening in just 2 days, which is very, very exciting. I am curious. Let me know in the chat. Are you somebody that's excited about this change? Are you sort of excited, ready to let go of Jupiter in Taurus and ready for Jupiter to enter Gemini? Or are you, on the other hand, not looking forward to it? Maybe you loved Jupiter in Taurus and you're thinking, I sort of wish it would stay there for longer. I would love to hear your experiences with the transit. But yeah, so the point for today's live is to have a chat about this transit. We're going to start off the live having a chat about Jupiter as a planet. Then we're going to talk about what Jupiter in Gemini specifically brings, or what it sort of manifests, or how it manifests, I should say. And then finally, we're going to get into the rising sign horoscopes. So if you're just joining and you want to make sure we address your rising sign first, let me know in the chat what your rising sign is, and then we'll do that one right away. So, as I already shared, Jupiter is entering Gemini on May 26th, so in just 2 days. And it's going to stay there until June 9th of 2025, so a whole year. So it really has quite a lot of time to bring in some lessons and some exciting new energy into a specific area of your life. One important thing to note during this year of Jupiter in Gemini is that it is going to go retrograde. And it's going to go retrograde from October 9th, 2024 until February 4th, 2025. So about 4 months it will be retrograde. And specifically during that time, so during October and February, you might be more reflective on the steps or the things that have been happening with Jupiter in your specific house. And afterwards, after February, when it goes direct again, you'll sort of have a chance to revisit or redo some of these themes in the specific house that is happening for you. One important thing to note as well during the Jupiter and Gemini transit is that for a large part of it, it will be squaring Saturn in Pisces. And if you're not aware, Jupiter is the planet that rules Pisces. So being squared by Saturn, the planet of restriction, who is in the sign ruled by Jupiter, I think that might put a bit of a damper on the nice Jupiterian energy. So it could happen that this year ahead doesn't feel as abundant as maybe a regular Jupiterian transit might feel. And the reason why I also say this is because Jupiter is entering the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is also the sign where Jupiter is in detriment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me first share with you some other important dates that you can find in your own chart. So, for any of you that have personal planets in Gemini or in Sagittarius, so the sign opposite of Gemini, or in Pisces or Virgo, the signs that are 90 degrees away from Gemini, then take a note when Jupiter will be crossing over those degrees. And these dates are the dates that will be especially valuable for you, or these are the dates where you might find certain events really take place, or that you might have certain things happening in your life around that specific theme. So you can sort of narrow down the dates for yourself in that way. This transit, Jupiter in Gemini, is also going to be especially important for those that have natal Jupiter in Gemini. So, if at the moment that you were born, Jupiter was in the sign of Gemini, then for the next year, you're basically having something called the Jupiter return, which is this idea that the planet Jupiter returns to the same spot of the sky in which it was in when you were born. And this can make this period, this year, an especially fruitful period for you. So that's something to note as well if this is prevalent in your chart. Also, though, or who this year could be very good for or very important for is people that have Jupiter in Sagittarius in their natal chart. So, if you have Jupiter in Sagittarius in when you were born in the chart of your birth, then that means you're going through a Jupiter opposition, which basically means that Jupiter is going to be at the opposite part of where it was when you were born. And this can also be a very important year for you because of that. It might be especially potent for you. All right, so let's get next into Jupiter as a planet, what it symbolizes, so that we can start to unpack what you can expect with this transit. So, Jupiter as a planet, it's a planet that gives us the ability to envision a new and brighter future. And because of this, a lot of the times we hear Jupiter in astrology being praised and being loved because, again, it has this optimism and luck and good fortune associated with it. The trick during this upcoming year, or basically any time that we're working with a Jupiterian transit, is to be very aware of the opportunities that are coming our way. So, because Jupiter can bring a new and brighter future, it might be doing that in ways that we're not completely aware of. It's sort of this idea that you're super set on, well, I want to get a new job at this company. But actually, what you might need to realize is that there is a really nice opportunity for you, but perhaps it's not that role at that company. Perhaps it's a different role at that company that you wouldn't consider before. Or perhaps it's entirely staying within the company you're at right now and changing roles, for example. So it's really about staying open to what the opportunities can be. Because sometimes, as humans, we can get really ahead of ourselves, envisioning a perfect future, and we might miss some of these amazing opportunities uh, to bring new and exciting things into our lives. Let me know in the chat if you relate to this, if you ever get in your own way with imagining exactly what your future should look like. Let's take a look. So, what else does Jupiter as a planet symbolize? Because Jupiter can make things flow a little bit easier, it can bring us a lot of opportunities, it can make us feel good, it can make things go more our way. It's not a blocking planet the way Saturn is. Because of that, sometimes we can get a little bit proud, we can get a little bit ahead of ourselves. So, one of the sort of pieces of advice to look out for in the next year is just to be careful not to let your ego get ahead of you. This is really this sort of idea of you have a potential new job lined up and you start telling everybody, wow, I got a new job, I'm going to do this and this and this, and you let your ego get ahead of you before you even sign the contract, before the actual steps are put into place. And sometimes that can happen with a Jupiter transit because we feel good, because new things are coming our way. we get excited, and um, we might get ahead of ourselves. Let me know in the chat if you've ever experienced this as well. Have you ever gotten ahead of yourself with a Jupiterian transit, started feeling really good, and then have had to sort of retrace your steps and take a step back? So indeed, for the next year, in whatever area of your life Jupiter is transiting, just keep checking for arrogance and pride and making sure that doesn't get a hold of you. So we've talked about, you want to keep your eye open for every opportunity. You want to make sure you don't get too excited with every opportunity and speak ahead before the opportunity takes place or before it's sort of signed and sealed. But another thing that we need to be careful with a Jupiterian transit is that not everything that glitters is gold. With a Jupiterian transit, we might have a lot of opportunities coming our way, but that doesn't mean that we should take every single one. And this is why during a Jupiterian transit, and I mean, obviously at any point, I suggest to take time to reflect. But especially during a Jupiterian transit, when new opportunities are coming our way, it's a really good idea to reflect as to why we're taking a certain opportunity if we decide to take it and whether it's in line with what we truly want. And not taking opportunities just because of our ego, not taking opportunities just because it's going to make us look good to others, but really getting in touch with, is this truly something for me? Does this opportunity make sense? Is it something that I should go for? And because we can feel really positive and understand each of the sort of the opportunities coming our way, we can also tend to focus too much on the positive. So, we're getting a new job opportunity. And we think, wow, this is amazing. We're sort of elevating the opportunity and failing to see that, you know, everything has its positives and negatives. So just be sort of the piece of advice for this Jupiterian transit is be very aware of not overextending the opportunities that are coming your way. Uh, be very aware of not painting a better picture of the opportunities than is actually true. It's sort of this idea of like, you meet somebody new that you're thinking of getting into a partnership with, and you see them in the best light. You think, has there never been an amazing person such as this person? And slowly, when you get through the sort of the honeymoon phase, you start to see, wait a second, this is a person too that has their own flaws and their own growth points. So just keep that in mind during this Jupiterian transit. My leg is falling asleep. So I hope it will calm down in a second here. But if you see me moving weird, that's why. So one of the other things that I noted about Jupiterian transits here in my notes is that a Jupiterian transit in whatever parts of your chart is touching, it can just be a lot. And what I mean with this is that it can just direct a lot of attention, a lot of time, a lot of energy into that particular area of your life. So it might sometimes also feel overwhelming. For example, Jupiter in Taurus was transiting for the last year in my 10th house. So a lot of my focus, a lot of my mental focus, a lot of my time, a lot of my energy, a lot of the things that I was thinking about through the last year were work related. And That doesn't necessarily have to be a good or a bad thing. It can obviously depend from person to person, from situation to situation. But it's good to note that sometimes that can feel overwhelming. It's a lot of energy and attention and focus in that one area of your life. So as we go through the rising sign horoscopes in a moment, just keep that in mind that this particular area is going to require some attention and focus and energy from your end. That can also mean that if you have been working hard in that area, if you have been putting in the effort, if you have been showing up and doing the work, it can mean that now with Jupiter, you are ready to harvest the efforts. One example that I can give you is, let's say Jupiter is about to enter your sixth house of routine and health. And you have been so focused the last, whatever, 2, 3, 5 years on eating healthy, on exercising, moving your body. Now that Jupiter will, let's say in this example, enter your sixth house, you might start to finally see results from this. You might finally start to see that you're getting some muscle definition, or the health conditions that you've been battling with are improving, or you are able to maybe slack off a little bit on your diet but still maintain really good health. So that's one thing that Jupiter transits can bring, is it can actually make your efforts visible on the outside. It can give you the fruits of your labor, so to speak. All right, so those are all the notes that I wrote for Jupiter as a planet. Let me know in the chats if you have any questions about Jupiter. And then otherwise, if not, let's get into what Jupiter in the sign of Gemini exactly means or how it manifests. And like I said, we, for the last year, have had Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. And that's a really different energy from what we are about to step into. Taurus is a slow and steady sign. The way I think of Jupiter in Taurus is like the luxurious taste of a very slow cooked dish. However, Jupiter in Gemini, Gemini is a fast moving sign. It's a sign that's a little bit more focused on the surface level. So when I think of Jupiter in Gemini, I think of this ecstasy that you have when you do an uninhibited dance to one of your favorite songs. It's short, the song is maybe only 3 minutes. It's full of energy, you're dancing. So we can start to see how um, the opportunities, the efforts, the fruits of our labor are different with Jupiter in Taurus and Jupiter in Gemini. As I said a couple of minutes ago, one of the really important things about the Jupiter in Gemini transit is that Jupiter is in its detriment. And that means that is Jupiter is in a sign, in the zodiac sign of Gemini, where it doesn't really feel at home. It feels a little bit uneasy there. Jupiter as a planet loves to expand and loves to be idealistic. Whereas the sign of Gemini is, like I said already, it's not as expansive. It's a little bit more focused on shallow connection or immediate connection per se, instead of idealizing or thinking towards the future or thinking greater. It's much more grounded into today. So all of this being said, Jupiter in Gemini might feel a little bit constrained. It might not feel as luxurious and as beneficial as, for example, Jupiter in Taurus felt, or Jupiter in Sagittarius will one day feel. That doesn't have to be a bad thing, though. I think how we can work with it for the next year is thinking about how can we translate these Jupiterian expansive ideals, these great ideas that we have with Jupiter. How can we ground them and translate them to what's happening in our current life, in the way we're living? Right? So when Jupiter is in a place where it feels a bit more comfortable, we might be thinking, I'm going to drop everything. I'm going to move to Spain. I'm going to never work a day in my life. But with Jupiter in Gemini, we're going to take those ideals and we're going to apply them to what we already have. How can I adjust my living situation, change the things that don't work for me, but still stay in my current place? How can I improve my career, but still stay at the same job? So this is how I really view Jupiter in Gemini is how can we apply these ideals to what we already have going instead of completely getting, blown away with the wind and imagining an entirely new life and opportunities and ideas that we might have. All right, let's take a look at what else I've noted here for Jupiter in Gemini. If you have any questions about how Jupiter manifests in the sign of Gemini, let me know in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. Gemini is a sign, as we said, that's quite fast moving and that can be a little bit all over the place. And Jupiter is a planet of expansion. So there might be a lot of chaos in the next year because of this, and especially in the area of your life, which we'll address when we do the rising sign horoscopes. But because of this, knowing that this year might get a little bit overwhelming and you might feel like you have a lot going on, one of the things that you can do for yourself is reflect on the last year. Reflect on how Jupiter in Taurus has been for you. And if there have been any activities in the last year that have helped bring you peace and joy and calmness, note those down. And I would really encourage you for the upcoming year to really make it a practice to continue doing those activities. In order to balance some of this chaotic Jupiter and Gemini energy, you might really need some stability, some stable activities or hobbies, meditations, walks in the forest, naps, whatever works for you, to really help ground you and to really just help you with some calmness and bringing everything back down again to the earth for you. So that's everything I have written on Jupiter and Gemini, which means that it's time to get into the rising sign horoscopes. Let me know in the chats what rising sign you are or ascendant sign, and then we'll make sure to do yours first, to address your rising sign first. Alrighty. Let's start off with Aries rising. So if you are an Aries rising, then this means that on Sunday, May 26th, Jupiter will enter your third house. So with Jupiter entering your third house, for the next year, you might find it easier to perceive things in a positive light. So if for a while you have felt that you had a very negative outlook on things, Jupiter in your third house is going to sort of put the rose-colored glasses back on. Jupiter in the third house, which is the house of information, again, might feel especially overwhelming for you, Aries rising. So you might have an overload of information coming your way, a lot of things coming your way, from news outlets or family or friends, and it's in the sign of Gemini. So a lot of it might feel conflicting or opposing with each other. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But that might also mean that there are just great opportunities to gather information. So, honestly, if you're an Aries rising and you need to do some research for a paper or for a book that you're writing, this is a great time to do that. You're going to find it a lot easier to find the information that you are seeking. This is also a great year for you to sort of connect to your immediate surroundings as well. So, to connect more to your neighbors and to your siblings, to your local community. So, if there are any opportunities, your neighbors having a barbecue, take them. Take them because you never know what that opportunity is going to lead to. Be open minded towards those types of opportunities. If you're just dropping into the live, welcome. Let me know in the chat what your rising sign is, and then we'll make sure to address yours next. So Aries rising, one piece of advice for Jupiter entering Gemini is really putting in practices in place that help you with the scattered energy to help you focus a little bit so you don't get distracted with all of the information coming your way, so you don't waste any of your time on going in all sorts of different directions. Another piece of advice for Aries rising in the upcoming year is make sure that you listen as much as you talk. It's important that you are absorbing and not just giving out information as well. I think the third house, especially having Gemini in the third house, I really have this saying in my mind, which is curiosity killed the cat. And that is sort of the final piece of advice for Aries rising for the upcoming year is curiosity is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But just keep in mind that you don't let curiosity get to a point where you, get yourself in trouble or get down uh, a place where you shouldn't be going, for example. Amazing. All right. Next, we're going to do Taurus rising. Unless you want me to do your rising sign next, then let me know in the chat and we'll skip to yours right away. And let me know, are you excited for Jupiter to enter Gemini? I would love to hear. All right, so let's do Taurus rising then. For those of you that are Taurus rising, this means that Jupiter on Sunday will be entering your second house. So with Jupiter for the next year, Taurus rising, it means that you will get a lot of opportunities for self-development. You will get opportunities where you can really learn about yourself. You can learn about your self-esteem. You can learn about what self-love means for you, how you can love yourself best. And you will get an opportunity to work on these things so that you can really learn to love yourself for who you are, instead of equating your worth or your appreciation for yourself with the things that you have, with the things that you own, with the job that you have, for example. Jupiter in your second house as well, Taurus rising, you might get great financial opportunities. It might be easier to manage your finances. It might be easier to make money for yourself. So if this is a year that maybe you want to get a raise at work or you want to find a better paying job, this is a great time to do it in the upcoming year. One of the things that we chatted about earlier was that with Jupiter, we can sometimes get ahead of ourselves. So, my piece of advice, Taurus rising, is just be careful not to take all of the financial abundance coming your way and to lose track of it, to overspend, to overindulge, to take all that money and spend it on material goods. And also to not sleep through a great financial opportunity, to really keep your eyes open and to keep your mind open as to what a financial opportunity could look like. Uh, so, this is what we chatted about earlier in the live when we said that maybe you have a really, you're really stuck on this idea that getting a raise means you have to switch jobs. But this Jupiter transit might actually be asking you to keep your mind open because maybe the financial opportunity can still come within the by you staying in the company that you're working at right now. Or perhaps it can come through a side hustle, or perhaps it can come through your partner or a hobby. So, really stay open and curious as to where this financial abundance could come from. All right, I'm just taking a look if I have anything else to mention for Taurus rising. Honestly, just to wrap it up for Taurus rising, it's a great year to learn to love yourself even more. So take some time to reflect, to really think about what are the parts of ourselves, of yourself, that you struggle to love, and work on that this year because it's Jupiter is going to make it a lot easier. Amazing. All right, so next up, we're going to get into Gemini rising. But if you would like us to skip ahead, maybe do your rising sign next, then just drop it in the chat and we'll skip to that one right away. All right. If you are a Gemini rising, then Jupiter will be entering your first house on May 26th. So I think Gemini rising, you're probably the one sign that's the most excited about this new transit because it's going to be in your first house. And Jupiter in your first house is going to give you more confidence in your actions. You're going to find it a lot easier to make decisions, to be a leader. You might also find it easier to stand behind the decisions that you made instead of second guessing them, for example. Another thing that this, or another way that this transit could manifest is that you feel more confident when you meet strangers, because again, the first house is the way we come off when we meet people that we don't know, people that we're just meeting for the first time. So you might be making a lot of good first impressions. So Gemini risings, if you need to make a good first impression on a date, on a job interview, on whatever else, in the next year, it'll be a lot easier to do that. All of that being said, Jupiter is making it easier for you to make a good first impression. One word of caution for the next year is not to get too proud with that, not to come off too over the top with the people that you're meeting for the first time. To just be careful a little bit with your confidence, so you don't come off too powerful or sort of like putting others down when you first meet them, because Jupiter can be quite a big, intense energy. Um, So just remember during the next year to also let others know that you appreciate their opinion and that their opinion also still matters. And then honestly, the first house is also our role in life, our personality. So for the next year, you might have lots of great opportunities to sort of redefine that. How do you want to appear to people when you first meet them? What is the impression that you want to give off? If you want to change that, if you want to play with something new and different, then the next year, Gemini rising is a perfect time to do that. Amazing. If you just joined the live, welcome. Let me know in the chat what your rising sign is, and then we can skip straight away to that one. We're currently on Cancer rising. We've gone through Aries, Taurus, Gemini. But yeah, if you want, we can consider your rising sign first. So just drop it in the chat and we'll skip right to it. And let me know, are you excited for Jupiter to enter Gemini? I'd love to hear whether you're ready for a change. All right, next up, we have Cancer rising. So if you are a Cancer rising or a Cancer ascendant, Jupiter will be entering your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of letting things go. So honestly, for the next year, Cancer rising, you are going to have a lot of opportunities to let things go, to free yourself of basically anything and everything that doesn't work for you anymore. Job, things, people. The next year is going to make it quite obvious for you what needs to go. And it's also going to make it easier for you to let those things go. They might even fall away themselves. You might not have to do anything about it. That's how easy it will be. So, in order to best use this year up ahead, Cancer rising, take time for yourself. Take time to really reflect on what's not working, what you need to let go of, uh, what relationships you need to let go of, what jobs or things you need to let go of. Do you need to declutter? And also to really become emotionally and mentally ready for a change, to really admit to yourself and to come to the understanding that change is not a bad thing. Change can be a really freeing and wonderful thing. You know, remember back to when we were all babies. We had no bills, we had no responsibilities. We didn't have to do anything besides just, smile, eat, drink, poop, sleep, and how happy we were and how freeing that was as children, right? So sometimes letting things go can be a wonderful thing. Thanks for your comments. We'll do Virgo rising next. So let me just wrap up Cancer rising. Amazing. So Cancer rising, what else is up for you in the year ahead? It's also a really good time to zoom out from the daily worries for the upcoming year, to really zoom out of all of the things that are keeping us all busy here on this earth as human beings, and to just focus and remember the impermanence of life. And I think doing that throughout the next year will help you narrow down even further what are the things that you need to let go of, what are the things that the things that you think, like, if I only had one more day to live, this is not who I want to hang out with. This is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to live. This is an amazing attitude to take into the next year, Cancer rising. So whatever activities help you to do that, whatever activities help you to get away from daily worries, from the daily to-do list, walks in the forest, meditation, whatever works for you, going to a workout class, please take time in the next year to do that. The 12th house can also be the house of escape. So, one word of caution, Cancer rising, is really take a look at any habits that you're using to escape from the world that are maybe a bit self destructive, that are not the best for you. And this can be things such as, of course, drugs and alcohol, but it can also be other things that we might not think are so self destructive. Oversleeping, overeating, watching insane amounts of television, for example, anything that you're using as an escape mechanism. So that's one word of caution for the upcoming year for Cancer rising. Amazing. So let's do Virgo rising because we had Steph requesting Virgo rising, and then we'll come back. We'll come back to Leo rising. All right. So Virgo rising. For the next year, Jupiter will be entering your 10th house. So, what this means is that you will have many opportunities to revamp your social role or your social function. And the 10th house is the way we mostly describe it these days is the house of career. So, you might have new opportunities for your career. It's important to stay open minded. It might happen that you continue to think, well, actually, this is the job I want. And because of that, you become a little bit blind to the other jobs that could exist out there, the other opportunities that could actually be amazing for you as well. And there are other ways, though, that the other opportunities that you could have, not just with your career. So anything that defines your social role, the way that others see you socially. So that could be with your work and with your career. It could be with your role in your family. A lot of the times, the 10th house can also mean like getting married or changing your role in that way. People now see you as a husband or a father or things like that. So anything that changes this perception that others have of you socially. One word of caution for Virgos rising in the upcoming year is to work on the prideful feeling, to make sure that you don't let your pride get away from you, that you decline opportunities coming your way because you think, oh well, I'm too good for those, or I want something different. Just remain really open-minded and curious for the opportunities that are coming your way. And then again, make sure that you don't take, on the other side, don't take every opportunity that comes your way. Really make sure that the opportunities you are taking are in line with your inner desires, that you're not taking opportunities just because they look good on paper or they're going to impress others. One thing to note is I just had in the last year Jupiter in the 10th house. So the way I experienced that is just a lot of my attention going to career and to work. It was a lot of what I was thinking about, and a lot of my focus was on, okay, what is this role that I want to serve in society, and how do I want to come across other people, and that can mean literally changing your career or your job, but it can also mean just becoming aware of how you come across and how you speak and the authority that you take. And so it can be a lot more complex, the 10th house. Amazing. I hope that helps, Steph. Let me know if you have any questions about Jupiter and Gemini. And if you just joined the live, let me know in the chat what rising sign you have, and we can jump straight to that one so you don't have to wait. Next up, we have Leo rising. So Leo For the next year, Jupiter will be entering your 11th house. So, Jupiter in the 11th house means that for the next year, you're going to have many opportunities to change the direction of your life. And it sounds major, I know. Um, but basically, you are going to have opportunities to alter your goals and consequently alter the direction of where you want your life to go. Um, and these goals might become, it might be easier to set them. We might be more abundant with goals. We might all of a sudden have a gazillion goals because, again, it's Jupiter in Gemini. But it also might feel like we are accomplishing our goals more successfully. We are able to, tick them off the to-do list. We are able to actually successfully navigate in the direction we want to go. So actually the 11th house can be, I think, a really monumental, a monumental year up ahead. The 11th house, Leo rising, also represents groups of people. Um, so for the next year, you might have a lot of opportunities to connect with different types of people. Take them, be open to them, be curious about them. Don't get too proud of yourself and say no too many times. But also, on the other hand, don't say yes to everything. Ask yourself, is this something that matters to me? Is this something I care about? Um, and take those opportunities. And these groups of people that you're connecting with can also help you in the direction of life that you're going in. So really be open-minded to who you meet and get in touch with in the upcoming year, Leo rising, because they might become people that are really useful to you, to help you get your goals accomplished. As I said earlier, word of caution, Leo rising, be careful not to get distracted with too many goals or too many directions in life. It's this sort of idea of like, well, I also want to be a cook and I want to be a stay-at-home mom and I want to be, a corporate girly. And so this is definitely a thing that can happen with Jupiter in Gemini in your 11th house. Another word of caution for Leo rising is, again, not to become too proud of the goals that you're accomplishing and get ahead of yourself. Um, I really can see this transit manifesting as you telling your group of friends, "Oh my goodness, I got this amazing goal accomplished," too soon before it actually happens, and you sort of embarrassing yourself, or yeah, just getting ahead of yourself. So make sure again to keep that ego in check throughout the next year. I feel like I've recommended this for all of the rising signs because reflection is really important. But especially for you, Leo rising, I think in the next year, it's really important to take time to reflect on what direction you want to go in your life. How do you want your life to develop? How do you want it to look? Um, because this year you can actually direct it in that way a lot more easily. You can really get somewhere. So it makes sense that you direct your energy in the upcoming year to your goals, to your future, and do that with intention. All right. So that was everything for Leo rising. If you have any comments or any questions about Leo rising or any of the rising signs, just drop them in the chat and I'd be happy to answer. Or if you want to get right away to your rising sign, also drop it in the chat and we'll skip ahead and we'll do yours. All right, next up, we have Libra rising. I'll just take another sip of water because these lives are a lot of talking. All right. Libra rising. For Libra rising in the upcoming year, Jupiter will be entering your ninth house. So the ninth house is actually a really nice house for this for Jupiter as a planet. So that's already a positive for you, Libra rising. And in the upcoming year, you might have a lot of opportunities to break up your routine, to set new patterns of behavior. You know, the way we talk about the ninth house a lot of the times is travel. You're going to do a lot of traveling. You're going to be reading a lot of books or educating yourself in some way. And that could definitely be a part of it. That could definitely be some of the ways that you break out of your routine and that you learn some new patterns that you want to integrate, some new behaviors that you want to integrate into your life. And one thing that can happen when we sort of break out of our routine, we start doing things a little bit differently, is you might get more of an optimistic feeling. You might get a feeling that your life is moving in a more purposeful way, that perhaps your purpose in your life is becoming more clear. So for the next year, you might be finding it much easier to zoom out from the mundane, everyday things and to be able to see sort of how your life is connected, how it's all been working, how that one decision you made 10 years ago has actually led to this perfect life that you've created today. Um, and this can give you a lot of sense of hope and optimism in the upcoming year. So I'm really happy for you, Libra rising. As I've shared a word of caution with all of the rising signs, I'm going to do that with you as well, Libra rising. The word of caution with the upcoming year is to not become too proud, too optimistic, so that you become dogmatic with your purpose, dogmatic with your beliefs, to the point that you start to think that everybody around you needs to have the same purpose or the same beliefs, that everybody around you need to, give up their 9 to 5 and start traveling the world and start doing cold showers every morning. To really keep in mind that it's your own unique purpose and we're all allowed our own unique purpose. And it doesn't have to match and be the same to the one that you have. And I would also say another piece of advice, Libra rising for the upcoming year, is don't take granted the sense of purpose that you feel for the upcoming year. Because eventually Jupiter's going to leave your ninth house. And perhaps that sense of purpose, it won't be so easy to get in touch with it anymore. So I would really recommend that you reflect and that you take notes on what it is that makes you feel alive, what it is that gives you the sense of purpose, so that when Jupiter leaves your ninth house, you are able to get in touch with that feeling again. Because believe me, it's we can lose it quite easily. So it's nice that if you have it now, take notes so that you can get in touch with it again. Amazing. So we just finished Libra rising. If you're just joining the live, we're going to do Scorpio rising next. But let me know in the chat if what your rising sign is, and then we can skip ahead and do yours straight away. Or if you have any questions about Jupiter, the planet, about the sign Gemini, or in general, what you can expect for the upcoming year, you can drop them all in the chat and we can have a conversation. All right, Scorpio rising. Let's do it. So, Scorpio, Jupiter is going to enter your eighth house on Sunday, May 26th. So, you are going to have a lot of opportunities for the upcoming year to bond with others in a really intimate way, in a way that you can really show them the deepest parts of yourself that you don't show to everybody else. That you can really share with them the fears that you have, the things that are keeping you up at night, your insecurities. And it's going to be easier to do that. So if you have a partner and you've been finding it difficult to open up to them, the upcoming year, you might finally find it a little bit easier to really share with them how you have been feeling, which I think is wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity for you, Scorpio rising. Another interesting thing about Jupiter in your eighth house, Scorpio rising, is that you might also get opportunities to connect with the parts of life that go beyond just this reality, right? So you might get a lot of opportunities to reflect on death. You might get a lot of opportunities to reflect on, um, taxes and debt, and you might get a lot of opportunities to reflect on practices like astrology or the occult. A lot of your focus might be going there, and it might be a lot easier to understand them. You might find it a lot easier to all of a sudden understand and deal with the fact that we're all going to die one day. You might find it easier when you're learning astrology to grasp the context or grasp the content. Oh my goodness, I can't talk anymore. The eighth house also represents our instincts. So, with Jupiter in your eighth house for the upcoming year, your instincts might become heightened. So, you might have these feelings that are sort of coming up out of nowhere that are not really rooted in reality. You don't have something concrete that you can say, yes, that's why I'm feeling that way. But it's just a feeling that you have, whether positive or negative, fear or a good feeling. So I do recommend in the upcoming year, Scorpio rising, that you really ground yourself with practices that help you quiet down, practices that help you hear what those instincts are. So alone time is really good during the upcoming year because then you can hear these instincts. What are they? What are they trying to tell you? And I would recommend, of course, in the upcoming year to follow them because they might lead you to great opportunities or to things that you didn't expect before. Um, and again, as every word of caution with all of the rising signs and Jupiter is just not to become too led by ego with your instincts, to not start trusting blindly. Jupiter in the eighth house might mean that you also, because you find it so much easier to open up to people, that you start opening up to everybody. You know, you're on the bus and you're crying to the person next to you about, I don't know, your breakup or something. So that's one sort of word of caution for Scorpio rising for the upcoming year, is to also be mindful of who you open up with, and to only do it with those that you truly trust. Amazing. So we're flying through the rising signs. We have 4 left. So we're going to go straight to the next one, which is Sagittarius rising. For Sagittarius rising, Jupiter in the upcoming year will be in your 7th house. So, Jupiter in your 7th house is going to give you some great opportunities to improve your relationship, to take those ideals you have of what makes a great relationship and to actually put them into practice. And this is another one of those transits, Sagittarius rising, that if you have been showing up to your relationship, if you've been nurturing the person, if you have been doing the work to be a better partner, now that Jupiter is entering your seventh house, you are going to actually start seeing the fruits of your labor, which is really exciting. With Jupiter in your seventh house, you will also find it much more easy to create equality in your relationship so that you're not overly dependent on the other person or the other way around, but that you're really equal, that you trust each other in the relationship. And also to just get things flowing a little bit more. Get that connection to feel solid and to feel strong as well. Obviously, if you're not in a relationship, Sagittarius rising, Jupiter in your seventh house could also mean that you meet somebody that's a really great opportunity for you relationship wise. And again, a word of caution, not everything that glitters is gold. So with Jupiter in your seventh house, you might tend to idealize the people that you meet during this time. You might see them as gods that fell off from the heaven, from the sky. But just keep in mind that um, Jupiter might be making things seem a bit better than they are or appear better than they are. So really give yourself time to also notice if the way things appear are actually the truth and the reality. If you are in a relationship, a word of caution, Sagittarius rising, make sure that you don't become too proud and say, like, well, my relationship's amazing. I don't need to do anything. Like, I can just focus on work and my friendships. I know my partner will always love me no matter what. And while that may be true, um, again, Jupiter can make us optimistic and make things appear better than they are. So I would still recommend to take time to nurture and care for your relationship and your partner. Um, yeah. Uh, don't believe in this feeling that just because things are going well in your relationship, that you can forget about. um, Amazing. Let's go to Capricorn rising. Um, wow, we're flying through everything. And it's been an hour of the live, and we just have 3 more rising signs to go. So let me know in the chat if you have any comments at all about Jupiter and Gemini, about any of the rising signs, or what you can expect. I'd be happy to also take some time in this live to address them. Capricorn rising. On Sunday, May 26th, Jupiter will enter your 6th house. So this means that for the upcoming year, you are going to have a lot of opportunities to develop a skill that can be of service to others. So if you are somebody that's been, I don't know, trying to learn astrology, trying to learn woodworking, whatever it is, for a while, you've been putting in the effort, you've been putting in the work. Now that Jupiter is entering your 6th house, you might finally be reaping the fruits of your labor. You might finally start to see people coming to you, asking you to help them with your skill, asking you to make things for them, asking you to help be of service. So that will probably be an amazing feeling for you. But if you haven't been learning a craft or working on a skill, then for the upcoming year, it will be much easier to pick a skill. You might have a lot of opportunities. You might have a lot of different interests coming your way all of a sudden. And you will have a lot of opportunities like classes or mentors that could help you grow in that area of your life. So be open-minded, and be curious, especially when it comes to mentors. You might think like, okay, yeah, what is my neighbor who, just repairs his home things going to teach me about woodworking? Like, he's not a master woodworker. His job is not a woodworker. But you might actually be surprised of the things that that person could teach you still about your craft. So be very, very open minded and willing to learn during this period. And again, as I said earlier, you might have a lot of opportunities to learn, to grow, to have different people be your mentors. You might even have lots of different skills that are interesting you. All of a sudden, you want to be a carpenter, a potter, um, a, a, a person that makes their own clothes, whatever. You want to be a hairstylist. So you might have a lot of interests, a lot of skills that you want to develop. So do take some time to really, really reflect on which skill is best aligned with you and which skill you want to pursue. Because again, Gemini has trouble with focus. It tends to want to expand and do everything. Yeah, and honestly, the last thing I wrote here in my notes for Capricorn rising is just to stay open to learning. Jupiter is going to make it easier for you to be of service to others. You might really start helping people with your craft. And that might get to your ego, and it might make you feel like, oh, well, I don't need a mentor. I don't need classes anymore. Like, look, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I am practicing my skill. I know it all. So, my piece of advice for the next year is to never forget that we are always students, that we should always stay open to learning. Two more to go. We have Aquarius rising and Pisces rising. Hope you've been enjoying the live. All right, Aquarius rising. So for the upcoming year, Aquarius rising, Jupiter will be in your fifth house. So this means that from Sunday onwards, you are going to have great opportunities to have fun and to express yourself. So this might mean that you just get more opportunities to enjoy the day to day. It's sort of like being invited to all the parties all of a sudden this upcoming year. You might also meet new and exciting strangers, people that just sort of come out of nowhere. And it doesn't mean that they have to stay in your life forever, but be open minded and curious as to why this person is coming into your life, and if they have something to teach you or a new opportunity to give to you. And be open to the impact that they can have on your life as well. And honestly, be open to all of the invitations you're getting from others. Be open, Aquarius rising, to any hobbies that seem to interest you during this time. Uh, just step into it. Have fun this year. Do things that make you feel good. Buy flowers for yourself. Get all the snacks that you love. Buy that chocolate that you don't usually buy, and enjoy it. And on the flip side of that, a word of caution, Aquarius rising, as I've been doing with all of the rising signs, is to be careful not to overdo it. Be careful not to get caught up in having fun and pleasure that's destructive for you. Of course, one we can think of is you're getting invited to so many parties, and then you're always getting blackout drunk every weekend in the upcoming year. or you're meeting a lot of strangers and you get caught up and stuck in relationships that are not productive for you. So all of those are things that you want to be careful of or just mindful of in the upcoming year, Aquarius rising. That pleasure is amazing up until a certain extent. So it's important to keep that in mind. But like, so exciting for you, Aquarius rising. I hope you have a fun year ahead. All right, we've made it to the last zodiac sign, which is Pisces rising. Pisces. Jupiter on Sunday, May 26th, is going to enter your 4th house, and it will stay there for a whole year. And what this means for you for the upcoming year is that you're going to have great opportunities to understand your inner world, to understand what's really happening deep inside, to understand your motivations. Why do you do the things that you do? To understand your needs. What do you need to feel safe? What do you need in relationships? What do you need to feel happy? And to understand your fears. You know, what is it that you're afraid of in this life? What are the things that are holding you back from achieving the things you'd like, from making the life that you want to have? So, any inner work that you would like to do, the upcoming year is a perfect time to do it. If you've ever felt like, yeah, I've been wanting to work with a therapist for a while, this is a perfect time to do it. Or any other mediums like meditation or hypnosis, any other methods that allow you to get in touch with what's happening inside, please go ahead and do them in the upcoming year. They are going to make it a lot easier, or because of Jupiter, in the upcoming year, it'll be a lot easier for the things that are inside to come to the forefront. They will become a lot more obvious. You don't have to search anymore. Um, and in that sense, that's really nice because if you wanted to do the inner work, then in the upcoming year, it's going to be much easier to do that. So make sure you give yourself alone time, time to reflect away from others, so that you can work on yourself. Um, Whatever those activities are, meditation, walks in the forest, whatever you'd like to do. That's one thing that I would recommend, Pisces rising. For the next year as well, Pisces rising, you have a great opportunity to establish a home for yourself. And that could be both physical and emotional. So it could be an amazing time to move house or to make your home a lot more cozy and welcoming. But it could also be that you establish a home for yourself emotionally. You finally find a place that you feel safe and that you can have comfort and trust in yourself as well. So it's really a beautiful time for you, Pisces rising. Um, I have a feeling that after this year, you will come out a different person on the other side, a person that understands them very well, that understands themselves very well. The word of caution for Pisces rising would be not to become too proud of your own understanding of yourself, to feel like, oh, well, I already know, like, I'm introvert. I had this trauma when I was a child, and that's why I do things this way, and that's why I am the way I am. Um, but instead, to continue to be open minded as to who you are, and to be open minded to the fact that you can change that, you can improve that, you can change your inner landscape. And I would also say, Pisces rising, to be careful not to become so absorbed with yourself, so absorbed with your inner work, with your meditations and therapy work, that you forget to relate to others anymore. That can also be a tendency with Jupiter in the fourth house as well. So that's it. We did it. We went through all of the 12 rising signs for Jupiter entering the sign of Gemini. I hope you enjoyed this live. As I shared earlier, Jupiter will be entering Gemini in just 2 days on Sunday. It'll be staying there for a whole year until June 9th, 2025. This video will also be up on my channel, so if you want to go back and rewatch, you can. I'll leave timestamps as well so that you can skip just to your rising sign. I hope you enjoy Jupiter and Gemini. Let me know in the comments if you're excited for this transit. And I also forgot to share, I am doing a giveaway. When we reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm giving one of you a free reading. So if you haven't subscribed yet, then make sure you subscribe. Thank you. Thanks all for joining me. It's been lovely to chat with you all about Jupiter in Gemini. I wish you a really wonderful transit.